Time for Open Orphan. As you probably know, Open Orphan is an AIM-listed, rapidly growing contract research company, a CRO, and it's a world leader in testing vaccines and antivirals using human challenge clinical trials. The company provides services to big pharma, to biotech, to governments, to public health organizations. So it has lots of markets, and there has been significant growth of the infectious disease market, I do apologize, which is estimated to grow to in excess of 250 billion by 2025. And we're lucky to be joined tonight by Yamin Mo Khan. He's the new CEO at Open Orphan, and Cathal, you're more used to seeing Cathal. He's the executive chairman at Open Orphan, and they're joining us live.
Yeah, okay, John, I'm going to start off, do 5, 6, 7 minutes, then Mo will take us out to 15 minutes, and we'll try and give the maximum amount of time for questions, because we're fully aware there's a lot of shareholders got a lot of questions. So look, I preface it. First of all, look, I think people know, but we have to emphasize that we are the world leader in the testing of vaccines and antivirals using 2A human challenge clinical trials. And as you said at the start, we're addressing this enormous growing infectious disease and respiratory market. Post-pandemic, everybody's spending money on them. At the moment, Mo will confirm, 5 of the top 6 pharma companies in the world are in contract negotiations with little old Open Orphan, so that's not bad. On that note as well, look, I made it very clear, Mo's coming in the past I tried to do maybe too many tasks on my own. So Mo's coming in as chief executive. That will allow me, I know last year I promised a lot. I think you'll see in a moment what we've delivered a hell of a lot. The piece we haven't delivered on, and I think now that I've got time to do it, is the spin-outs. The fundamental business, and Mo, if we click over it, you'll see it's never been in better shape. Look at what we've done on a tiny, tiny team, and look at our overheads. We keep the overheads very low. Yes, we probably should have had Mo one last spring, and the spin-outs we've done. But I think it's more importantly, look what we've done rather than what we're promising. Last year, the trading update this morning, basically we confirmed last year, EBITDA profitable, we confirmed that. This is all subject to audit, that we expected. We confirmed that it was 40 million revenues. That's not bad. That's more than double this combined business did 2 years earlier. We confirmed cash balances at 15.6 million at the end of December. And guess what? In recent weeks, there's a few million more on top of that. We also confirmed, as per last September, that we're on target for 50 million, 5 million, that's a big sum of money, in non-COVID revenue. We are, and we're working hard on COVID studies. So any COVID work will be on top of 50. So that is very impressive. We've increased our bed capacity in recent months by 50%, from 43 up to 62 beds. That's 62 quarantine-related beds we have now in East London. And that's phenomenal. And if you notice, we increased our cash balance along the way as we did all of that. So if you think about it, we had only 43 beds. A lot of people on the boards were saying, oh, we've signed all these contracts last year. Where the hell are you going to put them? Well, that's where they're going to be put. 50% increase in beds. And guess what? I think Mo confirmed that entire out of cash pocket, probably less than $500,000 we spent. We managed to be very, very creative in how we expanded our capacity. A very strong pipeline of challenge studies you saw in December, where we quoted the market. We had visibility on basically this year's pipeline, which is I contracted. That's pretty cool. And really what we're doing now, and I'll talk later on, I'll answer some questions on, we're going to continue now to monetize these non-core assets. So that's kind of given everybody a highlight we've done. So I think when you reflect on that bit, that's not bad work for a tiny little team. I think a big part of tonight, I really want to introduce Mo. As you know, I'm the talkative Irish guys who probably talked too much last year, but I think I'm still impressed with what we delivered. And if you look at the let's say the unpleasant, difficult market, I have a bunch of shares in a lot of small cap companies. And as pointed out to Mo, quite a few of them are off massively more than Open Orphan's off. And the issue with them, they're all running out of cash. I wouldn't like to be raising cash in this market or anytime soon. Open Orphan has tons of cash, and we got some flack, and we do get some flack. Well, what are you doing with a big bunch of cash? And I think we want to tell people, bear with us for a short period of time. I know people say, don't say bear with us, we bear with. That bunch of cash, well over 16 million, we have good plans for it the best way, but we think handing it back at this point in time is a lazy option. So I think we will do something with that cash that will surprise and delight people. I think I'll make that very clear. And the last thing I'd say now, the really important bit is, I'll talk on the Q&A when Mo tells you when this is about where we are with the spin-outs, because I know that's what everybody's waiting for. But a key part of the spin-out is getting Mo on board. So I'm free now, and I made it clear I'm staying on board as executive chairman. I'm keeping it out of Mo's way. We're in the office here, and he runs the business. He's a professional. You'll see this. And I've time now to deliver what I didn't deliver in the spin-out. So just in summary, Yamin Mo Khan, but we know him as Mo. He's worked with us since mid-August or more, mid-October. Came on board as non-exec director, and that allowed, as Donald knows, I'm not the most conventional chairman of a public company, but sure, it takes all kinds. But Mo and I have got to know each other. I think we have a very close working relationship. He's extensive experience in the CRO, a complete professional. And maybe before to do, Mo, I'll hand over to you. And in around 15 minutes, the halfway mark, we're open to take lots of questions. Okay.
Well, thank you for the kind introduction. Yamin Mo Khan, Mo, as I'm generally known. So I've been with Orphan from October. I joined as a non-executive director, and I guess it was a 3-month interview period that Cathal conducted, and I'm really honored and excited to be joining as the CEO of Orphan as of 24th of February. I have a 25-year plus experience in both the biotech and the contract research organization, the CRO industry, majority in the CRO. I worked in a small biotech called the Lipsum company, which was later acquired by Elan Pharmaceuticals. I also worked at the small UK CRO called Innovax, which was acquired by IQVIA. And then I spent the majority of my career at a small niche Eastern European CRO called Pharma. When I joined, we were a 20-employee, 2-country CRO. And during my time there, I helped it to go to a mid-sized global CRO with over 600 FTEs, presence in over 40 countries, and lots of offices all around the world. We then sold the company in a trade sale, which I co-led to a private equity buyer. And then I went into consulting. During my time at Pharma, I managed global business development teams, performing executive roles and a relationship with the C-suite at Pharma and biotechs. And then at different times, I also manage global project delivery teams. So I have experience in both the business development commercial side as well as on operational delivery. So one of the key questions I keep getting asked is, why did I join Orphan? Well, Orphan is a world leader in challenge studies. I know most service providers sell themselves as a world leader in the market they serve, but we are literally the world leader in challenge trials. We have done over 60 challenge trials historically, more than any other commercial organization. We have over 9 active challenge models, again, more than anyone else. We do provide a complete full service. So we actually do think about the design of the protocol. We write the protocol, we develop all the assays, we recruit all the patients, and then we do all the analysis and finally provide the clinical study report to our customers. And as you know, we were the CRO involved in the first SARS-CoV-2 challenge trial that has been done anywhere in the world. So it does show that we are really at the cutting edge of challenge trials. And anyone who knows about anything about running clinical trials, the biggest hurdle in clinical trials is recruitment, volunteer or patient recruitment. And even in that field, Orphan leads the market in its flu branded campaigns. We run both online and press and radio campaigns to recruit over 1,000 screen volunteers per week. We have a database of over 200,000 volunteers in the database. So we recognize the key obstacles and hurdles in recruitment, and we have addressed those really well. One of my key goals on coming on board, when Cathal asked me to come on board, is to identify areas where we can grow. So we can grow by going into different service lines, expanding our challenge models, and then also working with our laboratory staff to increase the services we offer. So as the expansion into Plumbers Row has become effective, in fact, we are moving our offices in a couple of weeks. But as a result of that, We will have new facilities in Plymouth Row in London, which will include additional screening facilities. That means that we can now conduct non-first-in-human phase 1 clinical trials, both in bridging trials, for example, or in PK trials. With the addition of the Manchester facilities, we can also add additional laboratory testing in that area. And now we can actually access a completely new volunteer population that we can get from Manchester into our London quarantine clinics. With the expansion, we will also be able to recruit more patients and volunteers. This means that we're now able to recruit into field-based phase 2 trials, which we have not done historically. And that's something I want to target over the coming months and years. We can also act as a clinical site in multi-site clinical trials. Again, this is working with other global CROs or directly with sponsors to provide them with patients in a clinical study they are conducting. And finally, we will also be developing cross-selling opportunities between the Venn Life Sciences Group and the hVIVO Group, both under the umbrella of Open Orphan. Secondly, with the challenge model, which as I have already mentioned, is second to none, but we're not standing still. We are developing more models, modernizing the models we have. We have just released our malaria model, and we're holding workshops with some key sponsors in the coming months in malaria, and we are currently marketing that and hope to have our first malaria study later on this year. And we are always continuously exploring more models as we go by. Finally, on the laboratory facilities, with the move to Plymouth Row, we will be increasing our laboratory space. This does mean that we will be able to conduct more assays than ever before, as well as do the virus manufacturing that we are currently doing. We are also currently working with some key academic sites and helping them with lab assays, and that will continue to happen. Finally, I will finish with some key numbers. I'm a numbers guy. I'm a scientist at heart, so I think numbers say a lot. As Cathal already mentioned, we are planning to grow revenue by 25% year on year. We have a very healthy cash balance. We are a leader in human challenge trials, and I mentioned these numbers are very 60+ challenge studies to date, 9 models, and we believe we have invested over 50 million in our time during our time in developing these challenge models. On the operational excellence side, we conduct over 84,000 volunteer screening in last year. We will beat that this year. And the great thing about challenge trials is the value of these trials typically lies between 5 and 10 million, but the revenue is recognized within a 10-month period. So they are fast burning. We're able to generate revenue in a real short time. And how are we positioned for future growth? Well, we have increased our bed capacity, as Cathal has mentioned, so we're able to recruit bigger cohorts faster. We are going to increase our lab sample analysis this year from the 86,000 last year, and our weighted pipeline. Now, this is the unsigned work that's currently in our pipeline, multiplied by the probability of what we think we're going to win, is 75 million, and that's the biggest it has been. So I think the future is really bright for Open Orphan.
So 75 million pipeline, that's fantastic.
It's the biggest it's been. So we use the CRM tool. We monitor our pipeline. I have a weekly call with the BD team, and we are aggressively marketing all the models we have. And I think this 75 million is the total pipeline multiplied by the probability of us converting it to real work. And I think that's a really good measure how well we are projecting to do in the coming couple of years.
Okay, and are you pleased to have joined the business? Now that you've seen it from the inside, truly, is it what you hoped it might be?
Oh, first of all, have you ever tried saying no to Cathal? It's quite difficult.
That's very difficult.
in essence. So after kind of saying yes to him, I was quite amazed. Looking from the outside, initially, when I kind of heard about challenge trials, my question was, is it ethical to do these kind of studies? And when I read up more on it, I'm coming to the conclusion, why doesn't every company doing ID studies do challenge trials? Because you're able to get an efficacy indicator much faster, much cheaper than you would at doing a phase 2 or a phase 3 clinical trial. So, and we've seen the market is going to increase year on year. And I believe, not related to COVID specific trials, but the fact that pandemic has happened, has had an impact on influenza, RSV, and malaria, and so on. And more and more clients are now querying us with regards to bigger challenge trials than ever before.
Mark Chewin asks a slightly cheeky question. He says, "Are you struggling to find volunteers willing to participate in those company studies, in those human challenge studies?" I think I've already heard the answer this evening.
I mean, our flu camp brand is second to none. In fact, we have so many volunteers that we are actually now selling them to other CROs. So remember, we do challenge trials. We need to have suitable volunteers. So in other words, volunteers that will get infected with the virus we challenge them with. So that's about 15%. The other 85% we don't currently utilize. We can sell them to other CROs, but in future we want them to be placed into the phase 1 and the phase 2 trials.
Okay. Over to you, Cathal. I bet you never thought you'd find it difficult to get a word in edgeways. Okay, Cathal. Let me say. Let's start with the RNS this morning. Your announcements this morning. What message were you trying to get out into the marketplace with that?
Yeah, Donald, I think that's how I started. We've tried to keep the presentation, like, I haven't been doing too many presentations the last month or two, because part of it is get the business in really great shape for the year ahead, and that's where we're going. Get time to get Mo integrated, and to make clear to the staff and now to the shareholders, we're going to work together as a team. It's not a case of bringing in a CEO and the chairman disappears off, non-exec. It's going on 7 o'clock and we're still in the office here in Alley Street. So the message we try and get across today is that, folks, look at the numbers. First of all, the fundamental basic business is flying. 40 million last year, confirming the guidance, EBITDA profitable. 50 million this year, confirming that this morning for the coming year, and COVID work on top of that. Increasing the bed capacity by 50%. People were concerned last year, where are we going to do the studies? So that's that done. And look, there's an obvious question. People saying, what are you going to do with the bundle of cash? We're clearly saying to people, trust us for a month or two, and you'll see we can make really good use of that cash. We're not going to blow it. We're not currently going to hand it back to shareholders just yet, because we believe we make vastly better use than handing it back to shareholders.
2 or 3 questions have come in about that, and they say, Sandy Ranford, for example, share buyback to improve investor sentiment, possibly, Cathal? No?
Yeah, look, how would I say it? We wouldn't rule anything out, but what I'm saying to people at the moment, that people have trusted us, the team. We're a tiny team. It's got much bigger. We now have got an extra pair of hands with Mo, and we spent a few months, we've been very careful getting to know each other. Mo was in 3 or 4 days a week, then 5 days a week, and now 9 days a week, Mo, all right. So on the cash, what I would say, Donald, but people are, look, the market today, there's companies trying to raise money. It's bloody impossible. I saw a company raise money today. The share price was down 30% on a 50% discount to where it was yesterday, just to raise money. We said clearly last year, we will never raise money again. That's a bold statement, but there it is. 16+ million. I said in recent days, we had a few million more on top of that. So on the cash, all I'm saying is, people have trusted us so far. Okay, hands up, I overpromised in the spin out last year. But let me come to those in a minute. I have no excuse now at Mo. The executive chairman's role is finished what I started last year. Mo will run the business. He's very hands-on. He'll deal with the customers. He'll get us our 50 million plus revenue this year. He'll get us the big EBITDA profitable this year. And I'll focus on the spin outs. And that's the promise I have to the market. Does that answer that?
It does beautifully. Ian Birchnell cuts straight to the spin-outs when he says, well, fair play to you, Poolbeg Pharma is terrific. But what about the others? When can we expect to see the other spin-offs completed, says Ian Birchnell? Okay,
well, if you actually look at today with the market cap, sub 100 million, we handed back 25 million on Poolbeg last year. That's pretty cool. So where we are, first of all, Prep Pharma was sold to a SPAC in NASDAQ. Can't give the name of it, but if you Google it, it had 186 million market cap on the 26th of December. Our deal was completed on the 2nd of January. It got 100% redemptions, and that SPAC that we had Prep sold into has no cash, 100% redemptions, share price down 95%. So we're having to restart in Prep. We will sell Prep, so that's Prep. The second one,
I didn't understand that. Have another go at that for me.
Simpler terms. We had clearly, there's 3 spin-outs. Prep Pharma, we had sold last year. We told the market we had a deal done. It was sold to a NASDAQ listed, one of these SPACs. It had 186 million cash in it. And unfortunately, as our deal was to complete on the 3rd of January, they got 100% redemption. So there's a danger about NASDAQ SPACs. A lot of them are imploding. So fortunately, we were able to keep the asset. So it's got to go back, and we'll do that deal over again. We will get PrEP sold pretty soon. That deal was done, but it was subject to the SPAC completing. Moving swiftly, Immutex, we only have 49%, and I've made clear to the market, it's very difficult if your 51% shareholder is more interested in talking than walking. And that's, but I have a lot more time to walk over to their door and make myself presence felt over the coming weeks. So Immutex has been difficult, but bear in mind, we only own 49%, but with Mo on board, lots of focus. The one that everybody's watching is Disease in Motion. Absolutely, it's going to take a lot of work. That's another spin out like with Poolbag. It was a lot of work to do. So again, that will happen in the month.
Is it harder than Poolbag, would you say?
Yeah, because we're selling it with existing customers, with data, and let's be honest, there's very high expectations and value around it. So we can't just do it in a sleep. So all I'm saying is, I've now no excuse to hide behind. Mo is running the business. I'm very hands-on. I give a commitment. I'll be in the office 4 days a week here and 1 day a week in Dublin, because that's where I live at the moment back. And I think if people bear with us, the spin-outs will happen. We had the PrEP Pharma one done, and unfortunately, that SPAC didn't happen. It was a NASDAQ listed SPAC, but all I can say is these will happen now that I have finally got extra time in my hands to do it. But I keep emphasizing, just look what we did over the last year or two. It wasn't bad. Not many companies on our AIM are sitting on close to 20 million uncommitted cash today and have people demanding the return cash. It's a first world problem to say, right, what do we do with 20 million pounds?
Okay, sticking with Disease in Motion, I've got Matt Jones, John Walklate, and Graham Watson that are all asking questions around this. And basically, you know, you've got five major tech wearable brands. You've got Apple and Google, etc., still in discussions about licensing the Disease in Motion data. Will the company consider getting DIM up and running by signing contracts with them ahead of spin-off?
Work in progress. That's all we can say now, because it's some of those companies we start putting their names in the public domain, the signed contracts. It makes the spin out. They say, oh, we thought we signed the contract with HP Open Orphan. Now it's a different vehicle. So all I'm trying to say, there's been a lot of focus on that.
Well, that's true. If you ever deal with any of these big people, they never let you talk about it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, boom.
Well, all I can say, John, the reason we're back on tonight, there was no good me coming 3, 4, 5 weeks ago saying, we're going to do this, how are you going to do it? We're here tonight. Mo's on board, and I've nowhere to hide other than deliver these results. But I keep emphasizing the small team we have, delivering 40 million profitable revenue last year and on target to do 50 plus this year. That's not bad work for 2 years, is it?
Okay. Sadly, I'll say, let's just collate all the slightly annoyed and slightly angry shareholders together. They're disappointed that the share price is a lot lower than it was, and they feel that you've slightly exaggerated, slightly overpromised, and it hasn't quite delivered. So there you go. I'm going to put that to you all in one bundle, Cathal.
And the response is, there's nobody is disappointed. You asked the last speaker about writing checks. So I think what makes Open Orphan unique, I'm probably the most heavily invested each year. $500,000 has gone into the company in real money last year, the previous year. So I think all I can say, Donald, is that we will get the share price back where it should be. It's been massive sell-off. We're not happy. Being the biggest shareholder, there's nobody hit it harder myself. Like, bear in mind, talking about buying shares, I paid £300,000 sterling at almost 30p June last year. And I'm not worried. My belief is that's not money wasted. We will have the share price back where it should be in the not too distant future.
Do you think that's investor sentiment, which is totally separate from the core business? Because the core business is firing on all cylinders, isn't it, Mo?
This is what what I've come across. When you look at the numbers, you look at the pipeline and the projected revenue for this year, we're exactly going by the guidance we gave last September. So I don't think there's anything wrong with the core business. We are actually expanding. We're building on what we already have, and I think the external factors, of course, in the on a global scale, we can't control. But on a day-to-day basis, our teams are performing great. We are generating really good results, and I expect to continue that.
Great. So it's investor sentiment, disappointment around the spin-offs. That's what they see as lack of progress. Do you think, Carl?
Yeah, look, I think in summary, Donald, I'm here tonight. I've got a lot more time on my hands because Mo's here running the business. So, and like what investors probably don't realize, doing 2 IPOs in 18 months, that's what we did, spinning off Pool Bag. Bear in mind, we only listed in June 2019. Then we acquired hVIVO. So yeah, look, give us a bit of time. The spin-outs will be done going forward from here. We had one of them done and it fell out of bed because investor sentiment, that's back, and that was completely beyond our control. We were handing shares in a NASDAQ listed SPAC back. The plan was earlier this year on the back of that prep pharma deal.
Okay, one for you, Mo. Would you consider buying shares in Open Orphan?
Absolutely. I mean, when I have the open window, I mean, my net worth isn't the same as Cathal, so don't expect me to buy 7-8% of the company. But yeah, within my means, absolutely, my plan is to invest. And you know, if I could buy it today, I would love to buy it today. I mean, because you know, I think it's a great company to invest in.
Okay, so you see, you'd like to see your interests aligned with the interests of the shareholders.
Absolutely. I mean, no, it makes common sense. You know, you got to have blood in the game. I'm totally for that.
Okay, and Mo, are pharma businesses shifting away from mRNA vaccinations and moving towards antivirals? That's James Johnson wants to know that one.
I don't think so. I mean, we've seen mRNA doesn't, you know, it does provide, you know, vaccination, good protection, but, you know, the disease is still transmissible, right? So I don't think that's going to happen. I think we will need to do both. And also, we don't really know the long-term impacts on the mRNA vaccine. It's still a fairly new technology. So as we move forward, I mean, the inquiries we're seeing are on both sides, in the prophylactic vaccine as well as the antivirals.
Okay, Cathal, and if you could sum up the outlook for the business for us in 1 minute. You've got one last minute.
Okay, I think to sum up, we've had a very good team. It's got much better. Certainly, hands up, I overpromised and underdelivered on the spin-outs, I emphasize, and nowhere to hide. Over the coming weeks and months, I think the rest of the mission will be delivered, and we're not talking about years.
Okay, Cathal Friel, Executive Chairman at Open Orphan. Yamin Mo Khan, CEO, new CEO. Thank you very much indeed for joining us tonight. And I wonder what the chat boards will make of that. I suspect they're already burning.
Thank you, Donald.
Thank you for joining us, gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Goodbye.
Thank you.